Hello and welcome to Cheshire Audio. Now today I'm going to be continuing the new series, looking at sort of tweaks and sort of little products that may or may not enhance the sound of your hi-fi system. And I think there's a lot of these things are sort of ignored a little bit nowadays, and I think it's the fault of forums and the fault of sort of audio Facebook pages, because there is a general sort of thing now that if there's something that seems a bit expensive or just seems it's a bit unlikely that that's going to make a difference. It's not logically, surely that can't make a difference. You're all mad. You're all being duped by manufacturers who are just in it to make money. And it's a shame because there's some really good stuff. I mean, there is some really good stuff out there that is just a bit bonkers. But it's generally these things are created by people who are, obsessive enthusiasts who've created something, found it makes a difference, and then trying to sell it out into the sort of broader sort of marketplace of the audiophile, which is actually a very small marketplace. If you sort of imagine how many people who are in the country who are sort of into audio, it's probably less than 1%. Of that 1%, how many would spend money on cables or whatever else to improve this? Probably less than 1%. It's a very, very small market. So if you were out there to make money out of people, you wouldn't choose the audio industry, because it's not. There's people who have made big money out of it, but it's not very many, and not really in the sort of tweaky side of it. Because, like I say, it's usually come from the passion of individuals who've discovered something, and by messing about with their own hi-fi system, it's very rare that people just pluck an idea out of the air and just say, "Hey, let's put this in a nice package and sell it to the idiots." That doesn't really happen. I mean, however much people think it doesn't really happen. So, on that basis, I wanted to talk about fuses. And the fuses, I used to struggle with the idea of a mains fuse making a difference. And my sort of testing in the early years sort of bore this out, because a long time ago, I mean, we used to just clean up fuses and make sure everything was clean within the plug or whatever. I would just actually before I do this, let me just sort of clarify about fuses, because I think it's just a UK thing. I don't think Euro plugs or American plugs are fused, but in a UK mains plug, such as this, inside, which I've already unscrewed this obviously, there is, if you can see that, there is a fuse. And what we used to do was to take the fuses out and clean them up, because they do tend to oxidise a little bit. Clean the pins on the plug, and it kind of seemed to clear things up a little bit. It's sort of interesting thing. If I ever took anything, if I still do it actually, if anything comes in for service, I do tend to clean up any corrosion or whatever, just clean things up, make a better contact. And after a while, I started to get what they called audiophile fuses, and they generally would be a standard fuse, but perhaps with gold-plated ends, or there's various, or rhodium plated seem to be something that would be used. And I played around with these things over the years, and they sort of did vary from sort of £10 to 40, up to £40 for just a variation on the theme of a mains fuse, really. I mean, people sort of look aghast at you when you say £40 for a fuse, but if you actually imagine a standard fuse, as in that comes standard with a mains plug, there must be tens of millions of those in circulation. They're made in massive quantities at the cheapest possible price. There's no attention to detail on, as long as they pass certain tests, that's all that matters. Nothing else really matters with them. Whereas your audiophile fuse, it's a market in sort of, possibly less than 1,000 1,000 items. And if anybody's ever tried to get something manufactured, if you've ever actually looked into that, the costs are ridiculous. For low quantities, the costs are just astronomical having anything made. Even packaging, even the most basic of things is astronomically expensive. And it only works, you only get to the point where you can sell things at a sensible price if you're doing tens of thousands. So the audiophile industry is at a bit of a disadvantage there, because nothing sells in the tens of thousands, nothing at all really, apart from, sort of major products that are well known. Anyway, getting back to the gold-plated fuses, and I tried them over the years, and I always thought, well, yeah, okay, it's sort of altering the sound. I can't quite put my finger on what's going on here, but yeah, things are changing. And it's always in the back of your mind. You sort of think, well, the mains power comes from, I think here it would be our power's coming from probably the borders of Wales somewhere. It's produced, 40 miles away. It's coming along cables along through the ground or over land or whatever to substations, then redistributed to the local substation, then sent out to your house, to your consuming unit on the wall, down loads of cables to your mains plug. You then plug that into the wall. But even so, we still think that little bit of connection there is going to make a big difference to your hi-fi. And that's where the logic comes in. You think, surely that can't possibly be going to make any sort of difference to the sound of your hi-fi system. But, I mean, after the sort of gold-plated fuses and all this sort of thing, I then discovered there's a brand called Furatech, which you probably will have heard of, who make, in fact, are these? No, they're not. Main sockets, bit like IEC, that sort of thing. I think that might be a Wattgate actually, but Furatech do this sort of thing and really nice mains plugs, and they actually do cables, various products. But they came out with a mains fuse, and I think it was £60. Crazy amount of money for a fuse. Crazy amount of money for a fuse. But they made a definite difference, and there's a definite clearing up of the sound. Not a radical difference, but a sort of a noticeable improvement. And they got quite a following, and started to sell a few of these through to people. Used to say, hey, take that home, see what you think. But after a short time, they were just taking off sale, and I think it might be that they didn't pass some sort of regulation. I don't know the ins and outs of it, but they were almost impossible to get for about 12 months, and then they disappeared, which was a shame because it was a good product, really. And then about a couple of years after that, I was approached by a chap who actually, he's the service agent for Stax headphones, weirdly, who imports a few things, and he said to me, have you tried synergistic fuses? I said, no, never heard of synergistic. And he said, they're fabulous, you should try them. And he's one of these people that you sort of get, who isn't a salesman. A lot of people are very into the sort of tweaky stuff, and not salesmen at all. If anything, they're quite often the reverse. And he said, you just try one and see what you think. So I bought a synergistic SR20, the first generation synergistic fuse, which was about £40, I think, I seem to remember. And put it on a shelf in the shop and kind of forgot it was there. And then I was going up to a customer who I go to quite regularly. We have a beer and I listen to his music and whatever, listen to his hi-fi system. And he's got like a name reference, which I've sold most of it to him. Some of it he's bought second hand, but in a previous life, when I worked for a name dealer, I sold most of it to him, and then all his cabling and stuff. As Cheshire Audio, I've sold him his cables and distribution units and all sorts of things. Various bits and bobs I've sold to him, but it just tend to go up, not as in a sales way, but go up and listen to his hi-fi system. Anyway, I was going there and I thought, tell you what, I'll take this fuse to him. Got to his house and he'd bought a new preamp, and the reason he called me around was, look, I bought a new preamp, come and have a listen. And he'd gone from, with his name system, a 252 preamp to a 552 preamp, which at the time was a jump from a £6,000 preamp to a £16,000 preamp. So it's like a £10,000 more expensive preamp. So we sat and we had a listen to it, and it's much more detail, and it's more dynamic, and everything's noticeably better with this preamp. After a while I thought, I've got something for you to listen to. I pulled the fuse out, and he said, fuse? I said, yeah. You're joking? I said, no, it's no fuse. Let's give it a go. It's been recommended. Let's give it a go and see what you think. And he said, well, how much is it? I said, well, it's about £40. He says, £40 for a fuse? That's ridiculous. He said, I can't see it. He said, so, well, let's just shove it in and just see what happens. I was going for a drink then. So I think we tried to decide where to put this thing, because obviously we've got an array of about 10 different mains plugs here, because he's got CD player, power supplies, power amplifiers, preamplifiers, a whole host of things on his rack. Where do you put it? I thought, well, okay, the mains comes in through the wall. It goes first into his distribution unit. He had a Nordost Thor, which is looks like a power amp, but it's a big distribution. 6 sockets on the back for mains and a single out to the wall, and it just had really good quality sockets, really good quality internal cabling. So his whole system ran off this Nordost Thor. I said, well, let's put the fuse in the mains plug on the Thor. That means that everything will get, if there's an improvement, everything will see the improvement. The CD player, the amplifier, everything will get that improvement. So we put it in and played it. I said, well, just play the same track again as you were just playing. Puts the same track on. I sat there thinking, he's put the wrong track on. This isn't right. And I thought, no, it is the same track. It just sounds completely different. It was more dynamic. It was clearer. It was almost as though you'd had a dirty window and you'd cleaned the window, and all of a sudden everything was precise and in its place. And I looked at him. He sat next to me, and he was sort of frowning. And he looked at me and said, I don't believe it. He says, that improvement is bigger than changing from the old preamp to the new preamp. He said, I thought £40 was a lot for a fuse. He said, that's ridiculous. So that was my first experience of the SR20. That was a synergistic SR20, the very first fuse that they brought out, which was a good few years ago. And he then ordered, I think I sort of, every few weeks he'd ring up and say, bring a couple more fuses round, and we slowly put fuses on pretty much everything in his room, and he even eventually put one on his projector. He had a projector in there as well. It improves the picture of the projector, which was even more bizarre. I don't get that. I really don't get it. But it did definitely, and it wasn't sort of something that you would try. It wasn't as though it was a difference that you were trying to hear. It was, you could take them out and it would go away. It was, and like I say, in the old days when it was the gold fuse and things like that, it was sort of, is it or isn't it? And it was, am I just kidding myself here? But not with the synergistic ones. It was a definite step forward in sound quality, particularly in dynamics. Shortly after that, Synergistic announced, I think it was the red fuse after that, which was £60 or £65, and same situation again. About this point, I had a few customers who were all buying the fuses. Rang them round and said, there's a new version, do you want to try it? And every time it was sort of, oh, go on then, it can't be any better than this, but it was. Then you get the phone call, well, I need to replace all my fuses, so I need 8 of them. And then they went to, I can't remember, we're on about the 7th generation now, so we've gone, I think it was red, blue, black, orange, purple. So the new ones are the purple fuses. We're not going to talk about price. A purple fuse is about the same price as about 65 cups of Costa coffee, regular cappuccinos, about the same price as, oh, you can't quite buy a second-hand car, but almost. Yeah, so it's getting quite expensive now, but I still get the same. I still get the same reaction as in fact, I'm going out tonight to a chap. I've got one here, in fact. Synergistic fuse. Going out tonight to a chap. He's actually bought, I would guess, about 10 of these now. Going around to try another 3. One in his DAC, one in his. Oh, what are we putting them into? Oh, he's got 2 subs. We might be trying them in the subs, actually, just to see. Interesting. That was the chat with the other system. And the subs were quite interesting. Literally all it is inside. Bit of packing, bit of congratulations on buying Synergistic product. And within the packing there, we just have that. So like I say, the power goes all the way from the power station, through the cables, all the way down the line, through this, and it makes a massive difference. I don't know, I don't get it. I mean, Synergistic talk about using the use of graphene, of quantum tunnelling, and high voltage preparations of whatever with these fuses. I don't know. I really don't know the reasoning for it. But there is something going on here. This isn't just snake oil. There is something going on with these. Interesting, they have actually lent these to people in the past and they've said it didn't make any difference. Only ever had one guy who said it made it sound worse. And I think that was, what did he have now? I think he had it was Stax headphones, and I think he was using a streamer straight into Stax headphones. And he said it sounded a bit bright. Now, whether or not, but to my mind, that was just the fact that he didn't really like his streamer. I think there was something, it was probably just showing something up, but generally, big difference, big improvement, and you get the sort of phone call of, that fuse you lent me, I need another 3. Straight, you never get the call saying, oh, I don't like it, it doesn't do anything. It's quite rare, actually, that they don't seem to have any effect. Synergistic as a company, I shouldn't really say too much about it because I've not really tried all the products, but they do some bonkers things. I mean, if you want to talk about bonkers, they have these little, what they call transducers that you stick to things, almost like little beads. You stick to different things, stick one to your cartridge, stick one to the wall, stick one to, and that improves the sound apparently. Never tried it. Almost like a witchcraft level to me. That doesn't sound right. I did have a thing demonstrated to me which sort of incorporated that idea that was used on an iPad, and they had little things on the wall, and you could do things on the iPad that altered the things that they put on the wall, and you could tune the sound. I couldn't hear any difference whatsoever on that. So it's not all magical. The fact I couldn't hear it doesn't mean it isn't there. I mean, funny enough, I feel a bit bad actually that I sort of denounced Peter Belt as being a bit of a charlatan, which I didn't really say that, but the Peter Belt's modifications, that these little bits of foil and things that were snake oil. I shouldn't have done that really, because he did have quite a following, and some of his things did kind of make sense. So I felt a bit bad about that. So yeah, I just wanted to straighten that up. So yeah, that's synergistic fuses. I do tend to lend these out. If you want to try one, just give me a call. Just UK only. I'm saying that, I'm not sure. There might be some European countries that do actually have fused mains plugs. I'm not sure actually. I've travelled quite widely in Europe and Scandinavia or whatever. I'm not totally sure. I think generally they're not fused, but interestingly, I did have a customer, and I do not recommend this at all, who had said he'd tried copper rods instead of a fuse, silver rods instead of fuses, all the different specialist fuses. And he said, in order of preference, he said, you go standard fuse, then specialist fuses, then copper rod was better, then solid silver rod was better, and then best of all, synergistic fuse. That doesn't make sense. But anyway, yeah, don't try that at home. Don't try that at home. Fuses are there for your safety. Why I'm packing this up on camera, I don't know, but I am. So yeah, synergistic fuses. So that's first Tweekery video. I hope that was interesting. Hope you don't think I'm too bonkers and a salesman. Yeah, that's the end of that one. Don't forget to subscribe and give us a like. Thanks for all the comments. Thanks for all subscriptions, which it still baffles me why people want to watch me talking rubbish like this. But yeah, it's very touching. So thanks for all that. Thanks for everything. I'll see you in a future video. Thank you very much.